Today, we're going to do a brief overview of the benefits of FBA, and then I'm going to give you a quick overview of how it works. Next, we're going to go over frequently asked questions. We get a lot of questions specifically on handmade FBA because our sellers typically are unique and they have unique needs compared to a lot of others in marketplace. So we'll address frequently asked questions, and then we'll actually go into a live demo where I'm going to go on to Seller Central and I'm going to walk through step by step explaining how you create your first FBA shipment and hopefully easing some of those questions along the way. Why FBA? So I'm actually going to do a quick poll on those on the webinar right now because I always love to ask this question because it kind of sets the tone for this conversation. A good question is to start that out with is, are you a Prime customer? So over 75% of attendees on this webinar are Prime customers. So a good way to start this conversation is, are you a Prime customer? And that kind of leads into this, why Prime is so important. And FBA is one of the best tools that we offer to get your products Prime. So if you're a Prime customer, Prime customers almost always tend to love Prime products because they get fast, free shipping. FBA is fulfillment by Amazon, and that is when you take your products, you send them in to our fulfillment center, and Amazon does the shipping, customer service, and returns for you. It offers this added benefit in multiple ways that we'll chat more about as we go through this presentation. In a recent poll not too long ago, sellers that joined FBA and got their products into FBA, 77% of them saw an increase in sales. So on average, FBA products tend to convert 3 to 4 times higher than non-FBA for non-customizable products. And in general, this isn't a guarantee, but for so many of the artisans that I've talked to personally and worked with, you tend to sell more and ship less. So how does FBA work? I'm going to keep this brief because as we go through the live demo of setting up a product in FBA, I'll answer a lot of the process and flow of this. But in general, you send in your inventory. So you individually package your items as if you were going to send them out to individual customers that are purchasing online. But you take them all, you put them into one shipment, and you send them into our fulfillment center. Once they arrive at our fulfillment center, they're stored until an order comes through. Once an order comes through, Amazon handles everything. They pick, pack, and ship, and they pay for the free fast shipping to anywhere in the United States. What you pay for is really packaging your products and getting them to the fulfillment center. There are more other fees associated, but we'll get more into that in a second. Here's a lot of the questions that we get. And to start you off, so we're not wasting any of your time, so if you do have very customizable products or one-of-a-kind items, FBA really isn't set up for that. Although on Handmade, we love our custom artisans and we love our one-of-a-kind products. And we know specifically for one-of-a-kind, we are working hard to make improvements to get visibility. You have unique products, and so getting visibility and search optimized for those can be a challenge. So we're always working to improve that experience. But as of right now, if your products are personalized or one-of-a-kind items, FBA probably isn't the best avenue for you. But like I said, we're always trying to improve our artisan experience for the better. And then number two, how many items should I send in? We get this all the time. And a lot of people think, I'm not a candidate for FBA because I can only make a couple items at a time. I can't make hundreds of products. And we understand that. That's not necessarily what you have to do. You can send in as little as one item into FBA. Now, this may not be the most economical way, and it may not be the best way to gauge whether FBA is right for you, because you're not going to get a good idea if your goal is to send in 10 units or 20 units at a later date. Just sending in 1 unit, you're only going to have 1 unit show up for Prime, and then that Prime badging, which is really a kind of a beacon and really a value add to your product, that Prime badging will go away after that 1 order. So you don't have to send in a ton of products. We recommend take your bestseller or a couple of your bestsellers and send in a few. 5 to 10 is usually a good idea to see how it works for you. But as you continue to grow, the more items you can send in, it'll get cheaper for you individually. Number 3 is barcodes. Barcodes, UPCs, EAN numbers, this is always a huge question and a huge roadblock for a lot of our sellers. And while I'll walk you through this, in general, you do not have to have a UPC code. You do not have to have an EAN code. You do not have to have a manufacturer barcode. What you do have to have is a barcode. And if you don't have any of those that I just mentioned, Amazon will provide you with a free barcode that you can print at home and put on each one of your individual products. So if you're worried or concerned about barcodes, don't. Amazon will let you print out free barcodes. If you do have a UPC or EAN number and you already have existing barcodes, great. You actually don't need an Amazon specific barcode, but we'll get more into that later. So how much does it cost? Obviously, I'm sure most of the people on the line are wondering, how much does this cost? So FBA, it really depends, but in general, costs are based off of a flat per item fee. So each unit is assessed by its size and weight for a one-time flat fee. So if you send in 5 units, each one of those units will have a one-time flat fee per item. And then they'll have a monthly storage fee, which is usually pretty minimal. It's usually pennies on the dollar, and it's assessed every month for storage. There is long-term storage fees. If your product doesn't sell for 6 months, you'll get assessed a long-term storage fee. But a lot of times by that point, most people will know if FBA is a good fit for them. And if you want your item shipped back, it's a flat rate of 50 to 60 cents per item, just have shipped straight back to you if FBA doesn't work out for you. And then the last question is, can I still use my custom packaging with FBA? People love their custom packaging and they love the ability to really make their packaging unique. And this is something I do want to address. If you have highly customized packaging, FBA can cause some issues, and this is why. So when you put your items in your individual packaging, let's say you have make jewelry and you put it in a box and you have a little bow on it, because you want to have that unique experience for your customers, you still have to follow the packaging guidelines of the fulfillment center and FBA in general. So when you send those items in, if a customer buys those items and decides to return them for whatever reason, you can't have those items at this time. You can't have those items shipped back to you. You have to have the customers have to send them back to the fulfillment center. If you would like to have them removed to fix the packaging, unfortunately, you'll have to have them sent back to you. And we are trying to figure out ways to address this issue. But as of right now, custom packaging can kind of be an issue, but you can make it work. So stay tuned and we'll have more updates on that as we keep going. Okay, so now I'm gonna jump into the live demo portion of the video where I'm actually gonna get on Seller Central and I'm gonna walk through step-by-step creating your own FBA shipment. Okay, so when you're on Seller Central from the home screen, you may be familiar with this look. This is Seller Central home screen. So I'm gonna actually go in from the Seller Central home screen. I decided, I'm gonna send in one of my best-selling products. Keep in mind, this is a test user account, so things may not always go as planned. But from Seller Central, I'm gonna go into Manage Inventory. So when you're looking at Manage Inventory, if you'd like to send in multiple items into FBA, you'd go down this left-hand side and you're gonna click and select each item you'd like to send in FBA. For our first shipment, to simplify things, I'm gonna choose this one item, and I'm going to go over on the right-hand side and I'm gonna click Change to Fulfilled by Amazon. So once you do that, it'll take you to this screen. So this is basically, you need to agree to our policies. I'm just gonna click Convert and Send Inventory. So it'll take you to this next page. You're gonna click on this required information. So this is really a hazardous materials and does your item have batteries? So no, my item does not have batteries. And do I have dangerous or hazardous materials? No. I'm going to submit that. And then I'm gonna click Save and Continue. Okay, so the first question that's going to come up, and actually a lot of times for your first shipment, this ship from address may be left blank. You're going to want to put wherever you're shipping it from. This is where you input that information. If you've already created an FBA shipment plan, we're not going to address that now, but you can use existing shipping plans. This is creating a new shipping plan since this is technically, your first shipment into FBA. So packaging types, there's two different types, individual products and then case package products. The easiest way to describe this, for 98% of you listening in, individual products is the one you're going to select. So what is this? So individual products can be an assortment of different SKUs or ASINs, or if you have a single product, you're going to want to select this. This is what I recommend. It's the simplest. Case packaged products are typically more from items that are on larger Amazon marketplace. But for the most of you, and you can look into it, all you have to do next to a lot of the pieces throughout this is click on what is this or the help content, and it'll help explain that to you. So for individual products, I'm going to go ahead and move forward with this, continue to shipping plan. Okay, so now we're on a page where we're going to select how many units do we want to send into FBA. So I'm going to say I'm sending in 10 units to FBA. I think that'd be a good test sample size to see if this works for me. You can see right there, okay, here is the item, 10 units total. Sounds great. I'm going to click continue. Okay, so this is on this page, who preps. If you notice right here where I'm selecting who preps, this is you're doing this. So this is going to be because you're packaging your individual units and you're going to be sending them to the fulfillment center, you're going to click fulfilled by merchant. So you're creating the shipment. So this is what you'll select. Then click continue. Okay, so as I mentioned before about the barcodes, because I don't have a UPC or any type of previously manufactured barcode since I create my own products, I'm going to need to print out Amazon specific FBA inventory labels. And so you can actually purchase these on Amazon. You can get them at Office Depot or any other place nearby you, but we recommend printing on the Avery 5160 adhesive printing labels. So you can print these at home. It's recommended that you use a laser printer, but we have had artisans that get a bit more crafty. They put tape on it. In general, you want to do everything you can to make sure that your barcodes, if they got wet, would never smear and can always be recognized. That's why we recommend using a laser printer. But we have had artisans, although not recommended, we have had artisans that just print at home. All you need is the Avery 5160 printing adhesive labels. You can buy for relatively low cost online. And then once you're ready to print these labels, so you'll select the size of the printing labels. And so once you purchase your adhesive labels, if you're going this route, you'll notice the size on the packaging of the labels. So you just want to make sure that you have the right size packaging selected right here. From the drop down, it'll have different options. This is the one that auto defaults for the Avery 5160 adhesive labels. So I'm going to click print labels for this page. So this is what's awesome. So it's going to download automatically, and you can see in the corner a PDF. I can open up that PDF and boom, you have each one of your individual barcodes that you would then print out on your Avery 5160 adhesive labels. And then you just apply one of those to each one of your units. So that way, when they get into to our fulfillment center, they're able to be recognized, scanned in, and it's actually super convenient. So this is where a lot of people get caught up, but it's actually really easy if you take yourself through it. Okay, so going back, you've printed out each one of your individual labels. It's given you 10 labels, so you're going to want to put that on each one of your units, and then going to click continue. And for those of you that are wondering, going back to that labeling requirement. Make sure that you check our labeling requirements. So for a lot of you, the general, like if a major concern that comes up is people are concerned, they've heard horror stories about FBA damaging their products and them not having, or them having to cover cost of damaged products that they didn't do. So when you're shipping into FBA, the general rule of thumb is ship as if you are going to ship to a customer across the country. So make sure, if you know, look into our packaging requirements. That's step one. But in general, to make sure it's safe, if you're going to use bubble wrap on an item, if you're making home decor signs and you want to make sure that your sign is safe, putting it in bubble wrap is a great idea. But you want to make sure that those barcodes that I just recommend you print out, that those can be seen on the outside of each individual unit. So if you're wrapping in a bunch of bubble wrap, or if the instructions, if it's a small item, you'll need to put a poly bag on it. Those are the clear plastic bags that have the choking warning labels on them. Again, you can get those on Amazon or a lot of your local retailers. So make sure that no matter what packaging requirements you go through, that you can see your individual barcodes on each unit. Okay, so now back to where I am on this screen. So you can see right here, I've got 10 units that I'm ready to ship in. And this says, so right here, it says ship to, you'll notice kind of in small, but it says ship to, and this says I'm shipping to Rialto, California. So it'll tell you which fulfillment center is the best based off of an algorithm that Amazon uses. It'll tell you which fulfillment center to send into. Sometimes it'll actually have you break up your shipments into a couple. If you're selling products all over the United States, it'll take that into account and it'll reroute your inventory. And Amazon is really good about making sure that your products get to the most efficient fulfillment center for who your customers are. Okay, so this unit has me sending 10 units to Rialto, California, and then I'm just gonna approve shipment. Okay, great. So in this instance, it just has me, like I said, shipping to one fulfillment center. Sometimes you'll get multiple, so you'll have multiple shipments. This will repeat, and you'll see a few lines of this if you have to ship into a couple different fulfillment centers. But so far for this one, it's just one fulfillment center, so I'm going to work on that shipment. Okay, so here is one of the best things, in my opinion, about using fulfillment by Amazon is that when you do this, you can use your own courier. So you can purchase, if you already have a small, medium-sized business and you already have your shipping set up, you can purchase shipping through any of your selected couriers. You just need to make sure it gets to the fulfillment center. No, unfortunately, you can't drop off your items at the fulfillment center. We do get that question a lot, maybe in the future, but as of right now, you have to ship it in. And so if you're going to ship it in, I highly recommend comparing your current rates to the rates that you can get right here. So right here, this allows you to select and compare couriers to ship in your units to our fulfillment center. And when you do that, Amazon has a deeply discounted rate, partner rate, because we use these services so often, as you can imagine. We have negotiated rates. So I highly recommend checking these out. Sometimes you'll be shocked at how low of the cost actually is to get it to the fulfillment center. So you'll notice right here on the left-hand side, so small parcel delivery. Basically everybody on this call is going to select small parcel delivery, and then less than truckload, that's more of pallets. If you're sending in massive units and you're sending in pallets loads of stuff, that's what you'd select. If you're doing that, you're probably not the best fit for Handmade, or maybe you're trying out, you do have heavier, larger items and you're trying it out. Look into that, but for the vast majority of you'll select small parcel delivery. So I'm gonna do UPS for this shipment because I've already looked and compared rates, and UPS is the lowest for me right now. how will this shipment be packed? And so, by the way, also, if you wanted to select your own courier, you can put in other, manually put it. But for right now, I'm selecting UPS up there. Okay, how will this shipment be packed? Everything in one box. So for this shipment, so for example, if you're sending in 10 units and you have a box that only fits 5, you would actually not select everything in one box. You do multiple boxes, since not all of your units can fit in one box. In my scenario right now, everything, all 10 units, luckily I have a box that fits all 10 units. So I'm going to put those 10 units in one box. So that's why I'm selecting everything in one box. Okay, so here, this will actually play a big part on your shipping. You want to make sure you get this as accurate as possible. So my box weight is 11 pounds. I weighed this out earlier, wink, wink. Okay, and then my box size is 16 inches by 12 inches by 10 inches. So now that I've put in this, you want to make sure you get this as accurate as possible for this, because it'll really affect your shipping charges. Okay, so I've input the size and weight of my large box with my 10 units in it, and now I'm going to calculate what it would cost for me to ship from Amazon. Okay, so unfortunately, like I said, this is a test account right now. It's telling me that my estimated shipping cost is $0. Unfortunately, that's not true. So for a good example, this would probably, shipping in Seattle right now, shipping down to California, a decent price for this would probably be around $10 to $12 to send all of these units in. It'll vary by size and weight. So there's no guarantee there, but just unfortunately right now it's not giving me the best estimate because this is a test account. But check it out. And here's actually a very important part that you need to pay attention to. So this is what I just did was selecting purchasing the shipping to the fulfillment center through Amazon. So getting Amazon's discounted rates. So that last few steps is what I did. And so if you agree to the terms and conditions and this is the price that you're willing to pay, as soon as you click accept charges, you want to basically be ready to ship within the next 24 to 48 hours. Because if you accept charges, you are agreeing to pay for that shipping. Now that shipping label that you're going to put outside of this large box that you're sending to the fulfillment center, you have 7 days to ship that, or that label becomes invalid. So once you get to this point, you want to make sure that you're ready to ship within the next day or two max, because otherwise you will be charged for those shipping costs, even if you don't send it. And after 7 days, that shipping label becomes invalid. So only click accept charges when you're ready. Luckily, we have a little buffer right here. You'll notice right here, it says you have 23 hours and 59 minutes left if you wish to avoid shipping charges. So luckily, it does give you a little buffer that you can use if you want to avoid charges and cancel the shipment. That's where you do it. For now, I'm going to move forward with this. And since I chose to buy my shipping through Amazon or via Amazon through discounted couriers, I'm going to print my shipping label from home right here. So this is the label that you're going to put on the box that has all 10 units in it. And you'll notice it has two distinct labels. First, you probably recognize this is the UPS tracking and shipping label. This needs to be on the outside of your large box, and you want to make sure that this and this other barcode, you want to make sure that they're not covering any of the openings of the box. So don't put them on the flap openings or the cross openings, just because you want to make sure that those labels stay intact. And then this barcode right here, it's sideways, unfortunately, but this is actually the FBA barcode. So this is the barcode that's super important, that when it gets to the fulfillment center, that the fulfillment center can read. And once your items get to the fulfillment center, it'll read this barcode and it'll know exactly that you sent it there. And it's a great way for tracking your units. So I'm going to print this out at home. I'm going to make sure that obviously it's covered in either a clear bag or with clear tape. but I'm going to print it home, and then I am basically ready to complete my shipment. So now you can see this one unit going, or this one box of 10 units shipping down to California. Courier status is shipped. So I would then take my box, drop it off at the nearest shipping center. And then while you're waiting, so here's a very important thing that people need to keep in mind. Obviously, while you're waiting for them to show up, you want to keep selling your units. So that's when you're going to want to go back into manage inventory. So right now, you'll notice it says 0 available. So while you're waiting for your, and you'll also notice fulfilled by Amazon in your own account, if you don't see these columns, you can always adjust the preferences columns where you can show different columns. But you'll notice in this right here, it says fulfilled by Amazon. Since I want to keep selling while I'm waiting for my items to get to Amazon, I'm going to actually go in and I'm going to change to fulfilled by merchant. So basically, I'm going to revert the product back, and however many units I do have available, I'm going to update. Now, keep in mind, it takes a few minutes for this to update, so I would refresh and just make sure you update your units of however many you have on hand yourself, and you're able to fulfill while you wait for your items to show up. So that's how you keep selling. And then once your items arrive, you'll get a notification on your Seller Central homepage saying that your units have arrived. But you want to make sure that you're checking the status of that. And to do that, you go into inventory, manage FBA inventory. Or actually, if you want to check the status of your shipments, since I just sent in that shipment, you can see it right here in this top line, January 30th, you'll see the status, ready to ship. Okay, this status will update as it arrives to the fulfillment center. Sometimes it'll be dispersed to other fulfillment centers, but check this status, and usually on average, it takes anywhere from a week to 3 weeks to show up in the fulfillment center. If something happens to your units, you fill out, basically you'd contact seller support, and they'll file an investigation case, but you can't file that for 3 weeks. So if for some reason it's not showing up, you have to wait until your 3-week mark, and then you can create an investigation ticket where they'll look into and find out what happened to your inventory. So this is where you track where your inventory is and on its way to the warehouse. Once it arrives, you'll be able to go into from inventory tab, manage FBA inventory, and it'll show up. You'll see your 10 units right there, and you can keep that in mind. And then also another cool feature you can notice down here, here's some of the products that I have that are not in FBA that can actually it'll give you a little fee preview of what it might cost in total, plus your fulfillment, plus getting it to the fulfillment center. And then each time a unit is, so if you have a rough idea of your size and weight per unit, each time an individual unit comes to the warehouse, they're 3D scanned, so they'll actually update the weight and size of each individual unit, which is just kind of a cool to know. In case you are a little bit off, it will adjust that to be 100% accurate. So this is the general overview of how you created your first shipment. So like I said, I converted my inventory back to fulfilled by merchant so I can keep shipping. I'm going to keep an eye on this for when it shows up. And once it does show up, you should have the Prime badging next to your products, and which is exciting. And yeah, so that's the conclusion of the webinar.